Hi, thank you so much for joining me today. This is Jenny Oya with Nuggets and Things. I want to share a few things with you today, hopefully to enrich our lives, to make our lives better. Many times in our life, we hit obstacles and barriers, and we try to fall back and try to figure out, why we're hitting the same, wall, whatever it may be. Many times we just need to understand, we need to just go back and figure out where we started. I do a lot of counseling. In counseling, I always seem to find some time in our sessions to be able to talk about. Well, let's find out where we got off track at. We know we're off track. You won't be asking for help if you didn't think you needed it, and if you need help, there's something somewhere that took you off track. So you're trying to find out exactly what it was, what happened, right? So I had this conversation probably a little over a week ago. And in this conversation, I was talking about, things that I done in my life that I look back at now and say, gosh, ooh, years of going through this cycle over and over again. Cycle. I did not like the cycle, but I kept going in and out of this cycle, right? And then at one point I had to realize that was traumatized at some point in my life, and normally it happens in our childhood, right? You're traumatized and you don't even realize it, because at the time when you're a child, it's normal. It's all you know, it's all you see. But we have to learn at some point in our life that what we felt was normal really traumatized us or affected our life in a way that we carry. Just like a suitcase, right? We took this information, we saw things, we took it and we put it in our little luggage, little baggage, right? And then as we became adults, we open up our luggage and begin to, now, okay, I remember this, I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna use this, I'm gonna use it. And the things you pull out of this luggage, this baggage, what you pull out, you think, okay, these are my tools. And they are tools, but they're not healthy tools. They're not good tools, and they're not the right tools. But you start using these tools because they're the only tools you had that you was given. And what you saw in your childhood affected your life, positive or negative, right? And I tell people all the time, this is who I am, you know, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. So when people meet you, they meet you and sometimes try to, put you, separate who you are from who they want you to be. Knowing, hey, all of this is me, right? There is always going to be the great part of you, and there's going to be some parts, that's not so good. And there's some parts, people are like, well, right? But that's all you. And you was built from what you experienced, what you saw, what you did. And sometimes people may desire you to apologize for who you are. But honey, you don't owe nobody no apology or an explanation. If you choose to explain your life, you will explain to someone who cares. They care enough that they can embrace you where you are. They can love you where you are and want to understand who you are. Not apologizing or explaining to someone who cares less or who could take that vital information, that sensitive information, and try to destroy your life. And when I was out and about, in my sisterhood, my kinships, my tribes, my village, and I'm talking to women. I talk to queens all over, and when I'm talking to them and listening to their story, I'm able to interject and say, "Yeah, I understand, right?" And oh yeah, well, have you tried this? And be able to help them, right, and on their journey. How? Because I've been on that journey before. Now I'm in my pretty 60s, right? I'm in my pretty 60s. But if I had some queens, when I was in my 20s or 30s, that tried to embrace me and hold me accountable and let me see my life at a different angle than which I was seeing it, maybe I wouldn't have hit all those bricks. But then again, it was purpose for me to hit the bricks. My life is not for anyone to say, I don't know how you kept, I don't have to explain it to you because you're not trying to understand my life. So I don't have to explain it to you. But I went through what I went through so that I could be able to help others when they're going through. And though it may not be acceptable to you and it may not be understood by you, I understand it quite well now why I had that journey, why I went through, the life that I went through, being traumatized and been affected and negatively impacted by so many, negative things. And my life was, was rough. It was hard. Right. And not that I'm pointing fingers at anyone or any specific thing, but I am saying that who I am today, I'm not apologizing for who I am today. Like me, love you, hate me, whatever, but that's who I am. Right. And that's how you walk into any place. This is me. Right. And being you does not have to be accepted by everybody, but some people are going to fall in love with you because you are just genuine. That's all. Be authentic. Be you. And so, I was sharing how, what I saw as a child in my home, right? The highs and lows, honey, the good and the bad. I saw it all. And now what I took from that, I used. And I took some things that was good. I took some things that were bad. And I took some things that was probably indifferent. But I took those, all those things I saw, I heard, I felt. I took all those things and I put them in my little bag. And when I went out, I was using what I knew is what I saw. And it was not always a good turnout. It wasn't always great. And I didn't always get the response I wanted, but I could only go with what I had. Right. It's, people sometimes they want you to give them something you don't have. And they get disappointed in you because, why won't you do this? Why won't you? Because I don't know how to do that. I have no idea what you're talking about. But if you teach me, I'm willing to learn if you're teachable. But you cannot get upset with someone who has never been where you've been and never experienced what you have experienced, never saw what you saw, never did what you did. I talked to someone one time about how my mother always made desserts. She was a baker, she was a cook, she was just great in that kitchen, right? She was just awesome. And so, back in our days, and we don't see it much now, but we lived in the country. So there was always all kinds of fruit trees, right? Apples, cherries, pears, you name it. We had a tree, in the woods somewhere that we would go and we would get bags of fruit, bring them home. Didn't have to go shopping at the grocery store because we were surrounded by fruit. It had a blessing back then. It was just awesome. But I would not trade my childhood for anything in the world because the experiences I got, I treasure that, right? But anyway, back to that. So I would go and we would go. There's a slew. It was a whole lot of us in the house. We had our own baseball team. It was a lot of us. So we would go get fruits, blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, whatever we found, we brought them home, persimmon trees, you name it. We brought those things home. And mother would make us, some kind of dessert, blueberry pie, apple turnovers, apple jacks, strawberry dessert, sweeten them strawberries up, whatever we found. And so those things is what I remember. So I was sharing with somebody about, oh gosh, I remember my mom always made this, sweets, desserts, right? And they shared with me, they said, sugar was not in our household. When we got sugar, it was normally around Christmas, different holidays, because we couldn't afford sugar. So our father didn't buy sugar. So my mother didn't do this, that. I said, wow. And it was, to me, like, we had homemade lemonade. We had, they took the tea and put the tea bags in there. Then wait till it got cold. That was our tea, right? And then we also had Kool-Aid. But those are our main two things: homemade lemonade. We had to rub those lemons, right? So sugar was in our household. Now, honey, now I know sugar ain't a good thing, but back then it was a great thing, right? As a child, you love sugar. I still do too, right? But anyway, back to the point. And so their life, they never had that. Those come to them, it was the rich people got sugar. I'm like, good gracious, and I know we wasn't rich, but we were rich in spirit. We was rich in the ability to be able to enjoy life, right? But again, people's lifestyle, their childhood is different than yours. So you can't judge someone's life based on, yours. And even if you was raised in the same household, and I remember the story, I never forget it. I read something about a man who had two sons. The man was an alcoholic. He had two sons. One son vowed to never drink because he saw what it did to his father. The other son became an alcoholic because he saw what it did to his father. Isn't it amazing? Two people in the same household seeing the same thing and making two different decisions with their life based on what they saw. So I'm back to me, things that I saw. I moved through my life based on what I saw. Now, someone else could look at that and say, well, see, when I saw what you saw, I done this. If I saw that, I would have done that, whatever the reason may be. And that's true. That's you, though. That's you. That's not me. You cannot think for me. You cannot tell me how I should respond. And you can't tell me how to visualize what I saw and making up my mind to do something differently. And even though you may frown down on me, and there were times in my life I was ashamed of my life. I was ashamed of the things that I had to go through. I was ashamed of telling, I wouldn't tell people about hardships and or experiences that I had because I was ashamed of them. I didn't want people to know my life story. I didn't want them to know, my experiences. I didn't want them to know who I was. And I think, oh, good gracious, maybe about 5-6 years ago, I just started telling people my birthday. I would not tell people the day I was born because I remember as a child, it's my birthday always, it was a bad thing always happened on my birthday, right? It seemed like it was a day that my father would always get upset about something and hell would break loose in our house. That was my perception of it. So I hated when my birthday came around because I always looked for something bad to happen. And it usually did on my birthday. So when I got grown, I didn't celebrate it because my memory was still locked in. It was still locked in. And so one day, 5 years ago, someone said to me, they said, when's your birthday? I never responded, right? And they asked again. I never responded. And so they called me on the phone and say, I asked you a question. You never did that. You never answered. I said, no, I wasn't going to, right? And I said, I don't share that, right? And I wouldn't share my birthday because of the experience that I had, right? I can't talk about nobody else but mine. And so because of that, I was locked in and I had to get out of that. I had to get to a place that I was willing to celebrate me, my life, and not be ashamed of my life, right? And that took time, babies. It took time. That I wasn't ashamed of me. And I wasn't going to let anybody else make me feel ashamed. And because when people find out that they can hurt your feelings by saying something that would make you feel bad about yourself, they will use it as a tool, right? It's a button they would push to see, yeah, she thinks she's something. When I push this button, watch this reaction when I push this button, right? And they get that same reaction until you learn. You know what? I'm not ashamed of who I was. That was the before me, and this is the after me. And I can compare both of them side by side and say, yes, that was me. But ooh, look at me now, right? Oh yeah, honey, you're right. You remember me? Yes. You remember when I used to walk, but I have several cars now. You remember when I was homeless? Check out my home now. You remember when I couldn't buy, bread? Cabinets are full, right? So my before and my after is looking good. See, I'm not ashamed of my before. I'm not ashamed of where I came from. I'm not ashamed of my life and the things that hit my life, even though they may have impacted me on a negative, place, it still brought out something positive out of my life. I couldn't be here talking to you if I remain ashamed of who I am or what I am. Isn't it amazing? You know, people can make you feel bad because of things that you went through. He used to be a drug addict. She used to be, what do you call it? An alcoholic. That person used to do this. They was a gambler. They was, that person used to be in a powerful gang. This person used to do, extort, whatever. They had a bad past. And some people will hold them to their past and never let them forget it when they have a different present and a different future. And you got to remember, honey, because people talk about your past and because people want to stay locked into your past, let them stay there. If that's where they want to be, you let them stay there. You ain't got to stay there with them. You don't have to entertain them about your past. That was your past, right? I was, oh, good gracious. I walked into the doctor's office the other day to have a test done. And I didn't want to go to the doctor's office because I was already mad with the with the doctors because they had, I had some tests done before, blood work done, and they didn't give my results to me. So I was already mad with them. I don't like doctors, no way. So I was already mad with them because they didn't give me my results. So they asked me to come back and have this another test done, right? The breathing bag, whatever. And I'm saying, had one of the attitudes, right? I said, let me go ahead and get this over with, right? So I was walking in and I come into the doctor's office, my mind's like, it's over with. And I went to the desk and the lady looked at me and she said, you go queen, you go queen. And I'm like, I'm looking around. She said, girl, she said, I saw you before you walked into the building. She said, the way you walk, like you own the world. Say, you was getting it. You was just walking. Say, I'm telling you, I'm like, I wasn't even paying that stuff no mind, right? And I started laughing. And she said, girl, let me tell you, she got up. I don't even know who she was. She got up from her desk, came out to where I was and started prancing. She said, this is how you was coming. She said, girl, you was walking like you owned everything. She said, I had to stop. Who is this queen here coming in here like this, strutting like this? And I'm saying, Lord have mercy, But now listen, her perception. My mind was nowhere near that. I'm thinking about, I can't stand going to this doctor's office. And I'm just coming in. And she saw something totally different. Isn't it amazing? Right? And I'm like, So anyway, she said, honey, I got to walk you to your room. She said, because I want to walk. She said, I'm going to walk. She started doing stuff. And I was tickled, right? I just laughed and laughed. And she walked. She was just cursing, And my daughter said, sashaying. So she was just sashaying. Mom, you sashay. I said, girl, please. Anyway, she gets to my room and she left and she went and got the office manager of the doctor's office. She said, this is a lady I was talking about. Honey, she came in here, honey. She brightened up everything. I said, wow, your presence. What if somebody else wants to remind themselves about your past, about your pains, about your hurts, about your misfortunes? Somebody right now is talking about the great things that you're doing. Ain't it amazing? You know what I'm saying to you? And so the lady, she looked at me, she said, oh, I finally got a chance to meet you. And she shook my hand. I gave her a hug and, we were just talking anyway. And so that was that day. That was a Friday, right? The Saturday I was going to an event my son was having. And, I'm putting on dress downs, right? White t-shirt, the pink in it, pink shoes to match my t-shirt, black pants to match my black. That's the colors I wear, white, pink, and black. So everything was coordinated, right? Paying no mind, that's how I dress. Honey, I gets to the place. Lady looks at me and she said, hey, Mom, so you got it going on today. I said, good gracious, have mercy. I said, thank you, child. Right? And I'm steady going, right? Because I'm in my halfway hometown. And I'm like, okay, so, I'm moving about like I normally do. Again, my mind is not even conscious of people are thinking what they're thinking. And so I stayed there for a few hours and I'm getting ready to leave. And the lady said, She's getting ready to go. I said, yeah, it's time for me to go. I got to go check out my son, blah, blah, blah. And she says, yeah, because you too pretty to be out here all day. And I said, Lord, what'd she say to me? I said, child. And I just said, ooh, you're right. I said, but people's perception. You're not even thinking nothing like that. And then it makes you wonder, how many people have you walked by in years have thought this about you, and you had nothing like that on your mind? All you was just being above what they told you could not be, doing what they thought you would never be able to do, living a life that they said that could never be in your daggone resume. That's all you was doing. You wasn't trying to win nobody's affection. You wasn't trying to win somebody, get no kind of prize for this. You were just being, and just your presence made people look at you and notice you, and sometimes think, she thinks she's this. Honey, no, I don't. I don't think I'm no better than nobody, ever. But I would never let you think I'm less than them either. That's important to me. Because see, I've been there. You're right. I've been there where I was ashamed, and I didn't think I measured up to what people wanted me to be, how people wanted me to live, and where people wanted me to be at in my life. I felt I had to meet approvals and standards. And then when I just found me and started being me, I didn't care no more what they thought. And I became proud of me. And it didn't matter if no one else pat me and said, I'm so proud of you. It didn't matter. I was proud of me. I was proud of what I became. And someone said, you look for validation. I said, I did. I used to look to be validated. I want someone to validate me and say, I see you. I see what you're doing. You're doing well. I wanted that. I don't want it no more. I don't need it no more. And so when I'm walking, I walk with my head up, and that's something I've always done. I always walk with my head up, even though I'm feeling low inside. I walk with my head up. That's just how I walk. But someone else is looking at me with my head up and I'm thinking I'm pompous, I'm arrogant. And I don't think that. But I'm not going to make anyone think that I'm dirt, right? So yes, things that happen to us in our childhood does affect us as adults. But we can make that better. We can be awesome because of it. And we don't have to allow anybody to make us think that we are less than who we are. So don't allow anyone to put you in a box and make you think, you should be ashamed of yourself. I remember when you used to do, and now you think you just, honey, if that's where you want to live, is in memory lane, live on. But I choose to live my life today because I have a future, and it's mighty bright for me. And it's bright for you too. That's all that matters. That's all you should think about. Because life is what you're going to make it. And if somebody can help you get a shortcut, honey, take it. It's like a map that somebody has. You know how you see a sale? You see a sale for Kohl's or Macy's or somewhere, you got a sale going on, you trying to get to that sale because it's something you want from that sale. So you mark it the day they have in the sale. You mark, you're on the map when you're going to go there and how much money you're going to spend because that was important to you to get to that sale because it was something you wanted. Well, think about that when somebody's giving you information, important wisdom, nuggets to help you map it, baby. See their life, see how it's changed, and then tell me how you want to change yours. And then map it so you can have a brighter future if you're tired of where you are. So, but you got to get tired now where you are. Now, if you're not tired of it, you're not ain't not going to change. But if you're tired, map it. There are people out here who are willing to help you not make the same mistakes, not keep falling in the same holes, not continue to be disappointed in yourself. Forget them. You disappointed in your own self. You don't need nobody to tell you that you're doing bad. You know that yourself. You know that. You know you riding on E. Somebody got to tell you, you ain't got no gas in your car. Come on now, that's crazy. Somebody got to tell you ain't got no gas in your car and you riding it? Come on now. So I got to tell you, that you ain't paid your bill. No, you know this. So you got to make the changes. Don't worry about them, honey. They got change they got to make for their own stuff. Honey, I don't care how good they look. I don't care what they're driving, what they live in, what they look like, how stylish they may seem, and that pretty smile they might have on their face, honey. They got struggles too. And they are working, they should be working on themselves because they have not got it all together. Like we trying to get together every day, they should be doing the same thing. So don't feel bad, honey. Don't feel bad about your life when you're trying to make it better. And don't let somebody keep putting you in a hole that you already dug yourself out of one time. You out of that hole, you stay out. If they want to talk about that hole, let them get in it. Anyway, this is Jenny. Oh yeah, the nuggets and things. You have a fabulous day, because I am. It is a bright day, and I have a wonderful future. And things are looking good every single day. And it's looking good for you too. You have a fabulous day. Let your life forever shine. Be marvelous in everything that you do. And remember, you are important to you. And don't be ashamed of where you came from, because it does not define who you are today when you make your life better. Much love to you. Blessings.